Good evening. Welcome to the Burnsville Parks and Natural Resource Commission meeting. Our first order of business will be approval of the agenda from the last June 5th, 2017, the approval of the agenda. So do I have a motion to approve?
A motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Everybody, aye. Do we have ayes?
Aye.
Ayes. Motion approved. The second order of business is citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens that would like to provide comments? No comments provided from citizens, so we'll move to the third item of business, which is approval of the minutes from the June 5th, 2017 meeting. Are there any staff or commission, are there any changes to the minutes?
No,
Staff, do we have any changes?
nothing from staff.
Okay, with that, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 5th?
A motion to move.
Do I have a second?
Aye.
So, do we
All
vote?
those in favor? All in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, fourth order of business is the sustainability update. And we have Sue Bass that's gonna provide an overview on the, Sue Bass, environmental specialist, that will provide an overview on the sustainability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. And I am here to update you on the sustainability actions that we've been taking in 2016 and part of 2017. So Burnsville's been doing a number of things, and I'm kind of excited to go through a number of the activities that we've had. Okay. So, up arrow?
Correct. Or down.
Or a crossed arrow? Any kind of arrow? Oh, there, okay, thanks. Okay, and just to let you know why why I'm here is that in 2006, 2007, and 2008, the city started talking about sustainability, and they went through a 2-year process of deciding how to go about figuring out what we should do in sustainability in city of Burnsville. And that included a very broad base of experts and stakeholders talking to the city council and staff. We ended up with a sustainability guide plan, and in that plan were 14 priority areas and a number of strategies and best practice areas. And in 2009, the city council adopted that sustainability guide plan. And as the Parks and Natural Resources Commission, you are the forum for community input into the sustainability guide plan. Some of the things I'm going to go over tonight, the Minnesota Green Step Cities Step 5 Award, the Ice Center Organics Recycling Program, Drinking Water Protection Overlay District, Beekeeping Ordinance, Fish Line Recycling by an Eagle Scout, and some of the things that are starting to come online, and I just give you a little bit of information about that's coming up, is the police department remodel, organics at city buildings, and a vulnerable population assessment. So the Minnesota Green Step Cities, that is a program run through the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, and there are, I believe, 112 cities that participate in this program, and they are all in different steps of that program. For step 1, It's to approve a resolution, and all these things in the Green Step Cities program are working toward a more sustainable community. The step 2 part requires to post initial information on the website and to develop a work team. Step 3 is to implement the best practices as for that program. And there are different, if you're a small city, you have to implement X amount of best practices. And if you're a larger city, like City of Burnsville, you need to do a little bit more. So we did above and beyond what we were required to do for the best practices. And then last year, they started a step 4, which is, okay, so you're performing, you're doing these different best practices. Is it helping at all? That's what they want to know. Is it making a difference? So they wanted to have some metrics, and we posted metrics. We looked at and found metrics that we could show that we're what we're doing. And then step 5, which we got this year, is to show that we've improved on those metrics. And the ones that we had to have at least 3, and so for City of Burnsville, we have gone from the energy that we use in our city buildings from 113.31 units of energy in 2014 to 103 per square foot in 2016. So we really reduced the amount our energy footprint in our city buildings. And this is all done with a computer. We log into what's called a B3 data. So a lot of help with facilities people getting that data together. And then also one of the things that we've done, the percentage of lighting, street lighting that uses LEDs increased from 12% in 2015 to 24% in 2016. So we use LED lights for our street lights. We've replaced them. And I just talked to Dan Toperheitzer today, and he just purchased 50 more of the LED streetlights. So we're going to be working, putting even more of those in this year. And then we've also increased the number of new trees planted, 15 more than the previous year, and that's part of the taking out ash trees, and then we plant more to replace that, and we keep going above and beyond. And I talked to Dave, city forester, and I think we took out a little more than 200 ash trees so far this year, but we are in the process of planting 523, and then there'll be another planting in the fall. So we're going above and beyond, getting more of the green cover. And then the Ice Center Organics Recycling Program. So the Ice Center sees about 340,000 people annually, and they all have fun. It's a great place, but there is a concession stand there, and they do make a lot of trash. So the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has found through sorting trash that about a third of what is being thrown in the trash could be composted. And Dakota County applied for an organics recycling grant to help ice centers and other event centers compost their waste, and received the grant from the MPCA and the Burnsville Ice Center, along with Egan, Apple Valley, and I believe Hastings, worked on a program to have organics recycling at those centers. And so Burnsville was a part of that grant. Before the organics recycling program, they recycled about 10% of their waste, and trash was 90%. After the organics program, recycling, we didn't even mean for this to happen, but recycling bumped up to 30% because people became more aware of, oh yeah, I've got to sort the waste. It doesn't all go into one big trash bin. Organics was at 9%, and then trash was at 61%. And the reason it isn't higher than that, and we keep working on it, this is just like, a year in the making, so we'll keep trying to improve. But one of the problems is that at the concession stand, all the straws and plates and cups, all the utensils are all compostable, and they can be put right into the compost container. However, people bring in, even though they're not supposed to, they bring in fast food, to watch the different events, and that is trash. And there's no way to compost that. So we're still working on how to get that a little bit higher. The Drinking Water Protection Overlay District, Burnsville pumps 3.2 billion gallons of water annually. And the service area includes the area that we service for that water includes about 90,000 residents. And we want to make sure to protect the drinking water. And so an overlay district was developed and adopted by the city council. Proactive testing is done to ensure safety, and it is a long-term management strategy for existing businesses, new development, expansions, or land disturbances. And that's the area where the overlay district is. And it includes freeway, landfill area, the quarry, Burnsville sanitary landfill, heavy industrial. So they do a number of things to make sure that the water is safe. And this is something going above and beyond typical standards for a city of Burnsville's size. The beekeeping ordinance. City Council approved an ordinance to allow beekeeping, and it's a practice that is in the Green Step cities, highlighted as a sustainability goal, and many communities in the surrounding area currently allow beekeeping. And then an Eagle Scout, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but did a project for recycling fishing line this year, and it's at several lakes, Wood Pond, Crystal Lake, and the fishing line is sent to a place in Berkeley, and it will make products like habitat crates out of that fishing line, and it also protects wildlife. Is it a kingfisher here? Mm-hmm. This is so. Caleb Ashling, natural resources person, was out looking at one of the lakes and saw this poor little bird all wound up in fishing line, and was able to cut it down and cut the fishing line off and set it free. So it helps keep, by recycling the fishing line, it helps keep that out of the environment, out of the habitat. Yes, so things that are coming up, of course, I'm sure you've seen the police department remodeling, and they've done a number of really great things they are working on. Infrared radiant heaters in the garages. high-efficiency water heater, LED lighting in all interior and exterior fixtures, energy recovery wheel in the air handler, motion sensors, dimming and daylight controls. So they're doing a lot of environmental things that will help keep our square footage, energy per square foot down even more. We're also looking at organics recycling in city buildings. Right now, we've been working very closely at the Ames Center so that they can have organics recycling there at most of their events. And then we're also looking that perhaps next year we'll have organics recycling in this building in City Hall too. There is going to be a vulnerable, we just got this information that there will be we're part of a grant process through the MPCA that I think one of 22 cities that will have a vulnerable population assessment. And this is for climate resiliency, climate-related concerns. It'll identify and map vulnerable populations and describe climate change impacts and risk factors, and then how those risk factors will impact the different populations. Provides a menu of climate adaptation strategies to consider. So we're just, I think it was like 2 weeks ago that we found out that we're able to have that assessment done. And so I think I sent it along, but I have extra copies. Does anybody need a copy of this sustainability update that kind of goes over with, does anyone need one of these? Or do you have it all?
Good.
You good? Okay. And so if you have any changes to this, I can make changes, but in the next few weeks, I'd like to put this on the website and have residents be able to take a look at it. So, thank you for letting me talk about all the sustainability activities. Any questions?
Just a quick question.
Commissioner Arnold, yes.
Thank you. Looks like you're making good progress, and I was just curious, is there any, like, goals when it comes to the, what did you call it, the green steps? I mean, as far as lights and trees, like by year 2020, you want to have 60% of the streetlights LED lights. Is there any endpoint?
That's a very
goals?
good question. And that's a question, when we were doing step 4, all the cities were a little bit nervous going, is there gonna be, a bar that we have to hit in order to do certain things? And as, for right now, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has said, we just wanna see an improvement. This is, we don't, every city's a little different. And so they'd love to see 100% streetlight LEDs, and actually we have 100% traffic light LEDs, of the traffic lights city owns anyway. But for right now, what they have said is just that they want to see an improvement.
Thank you.
So we're not looking for the commission to provide any sort of approval, but rather any comments to the sustainability update document. So I would encourage the commission to take a good look at that. And Sue, you did say that is online now, or this?
No,
So maybe we do need copies
Chair.
of that to take a look at that.
yes, that is, I will wait until if I hear something, I can change it before I put it on there. I have not put it on there yet, because I wanted to let you have the opportunity to see if there's anything else that you wanted to have in there.
Brett, are you saying, do you want everybody to have a copy?
Well, I guess what we're being asked here is to make any recommendations of changes with the document. And I don't know how many of us have actually taken some time to review it. And so this is our opportunity.
Correct.
And I would imagine we'll get another opportunity next year. I don't.
Absolutely,
But
hopefully.
just seems like we should maybe take a minute. We could do it after the meeting for that matter.
How do you want to give the feedback? Do you want to give the feedback now, or are we expected to say yay and nay, or this is just an update?
Commissioners, this is just an update. There is no formal action required by you tonight. There is no formal approval process for you tonight. Sue is simply looking for any of your input, any of your feedback on the information she presented, and specifically the handout that she has for you. So I would suggest that if we don't use the handout tonight, I can make that available to you as early as tomorrow, and possibly gather your feedback at the September meeting, since we won't formally be meeting in August.
And if you have any questions or concerns about the sustainability guide plan that is online, we'd like to know that too.
Any more questions or comments? Sue, thank you for the presentation, and it was very thorough and educational, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here.
Our next order of business is item 5, the Alamagnet Dog Park entry, and J.J. Ryan will be presenting an overview.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight we're going to talk about the Alamagnet Dog Park entrance, and specifically a little history on the dog park itself. It's a 7-acre area located in Alamagnet, not to be confused with Alamagnet as an entire dog park. It's just the enclosed area in the back of the park. It opened in 2002. A few years after that, we received some grant funds to open a separate little area for small dogs or dogs with disabilities. And then somewhere in the early history of the dog park, we had a group of users come forward and wanted to assist the city in anything that we're doing out there, in raising funds, in volunteer work, and just being champions for the park. And so they created a group called PAC. They're People of Alamagnet Caring for Canines. And we've been working very closely with them over the years, like I said, to make improvements out at the park, whether it be a shelter building or attempts at lighting or new fencing, or even annual maintenance and care of the park as we go year to year. This project, it started back in 2014, and it was, we talked about it again just in February as part of the park CIP process, but it started back in 2014, and then we kind of had to put it on hold because we took a bigger look at the drainage issues we were having out at Alamagnet Park. We've had some puddling issues, or in a heavy rain event, we have a parking lot in the back of the park that floods, and so you can't even get into the dog park. Causes a washout in that entrance area, and causes some problems in the dog park itself. So we had to take kind of a step back and do a full analysis of the stormwater issues we were having in the park. But we think we're at a point now where we've identified how we can address those stormwater issues, and we can move forward with completing the dog park entrance without having to tear it up in another year as we're doing work to mitigate any of the stormwater issues we're having. So as part of this project, we're going to take a look at adding a curb cut from the parking lot up onto or into the sidewalk area as you enter into the dog park. And it will be a sidewalk, as a concrete pad as you walk into the dog park now. Currently, it's pea gravel that served a purpose when it was first installed. But if you've been out there, it's eroded, it's faded, it's spread out, and it can be a mess when there's a rain event or even during the winter. The other piece is we're looking at adding a dog, over by the dog washing station, we're looking at adding another curb cut on that side of the parking lot as well. Well, this will also improve the entrance to both the regular dog park area and the small and disabled dog park. Currently, and I'll show you a slide of that in just a second here. Currently, after we did the addition for the small dog park, thought to how you get to and from that entrance point into that dog park area. There's no sidewalk all the way up to it right now. So in the winter months, it can be a little bit treacherous and just walking over packed snow and trying to get up there. And then we're hoping that this will eliminate some of the washout concerns and problems we have during those big events. So this is a rendering of what we hope to accomplish. Like I said, you see a curb cut there, and then identifying handicap parking spots near the front there. You can see as in the entrance areas into the dog park, there's concrete that extends through that run, and that's been a problem. That's been a muddy area in the past. Again, during a rain event, it's difficult to get in and out and around that area. So this should take care of that. However, the rendering doesn't show that we're going to try to extend that concrete into the park a little bit so that as people enter the dog park or the small dog park area, then they can fan out so we don't create another wear pattern just 5 feet off the edge of that concrete. On the left-hand side, you see that square just off the parking lot. That is currently where the wash station sits. So after your dog jumps into the pond, they come out, you bring them across the parking lot, and they can hose off your dog there. As you can see, there's currently no curb cut there. There's no sidewalk or means to get from the parking lot up to that wash station if you are somebody with a disability, a mobile disability. And this photo also shows kind of the current, the blue area next to the cars there, leading up to the dog park on the right side of the picture. That's kind of the washed out pea gravel area that is the current entrance. So this is an overview of the current dog park. We have our improvements to the entrance that we're working on our end. And then from that, you'll see the pink line, that's the current fence that exists, the current dimension of the dog park. And then we have the blue line that says proposed small dog fence area. Again, we are going to be working with the PAC group, and they're working hard at raising funds so that once we improve the entrance over here, they can come in and add some additional fencing so that they can expand that small dog park area, and then the entrance is taken care of already by us. Commissioners, we talked about this back in February as well, and there is $17,900 in our parks capital plan specifically for the concrete and the chain link fencing that will be the gates that get you in and out of the dog parks. Not the blue line, just the gates and that entrance area is all we're talking about. So like I said, we're at 17.9 with that. Currently, we have received some engineer estimates, and it's right in that area at about $18,000, so it'll be close. Those are not formal quotes. That's part of the next steps. So, as I said, next steps. No formal action is required from you. We've talked about this project back in 2014. We've talked about it as part of the Parks Capital Plan. However, because it is a very popular park, we want to make sure that we're bringing these items back to you because a lot of people use a dog park, and we want to make sure that people know we're doing the improvements that they're asking for, that they're looking for out of the dog park or out of any of our parks. City Council has actually already approved this project. They did it in April as part of their approval process of our Parks Capital Plan. The PAC group has already seen this project, but again, we'll move forward with them, letting them know that you have now seen it and we want to continue on. And then after tonight, we'll move forward, receive the quotes, or go out and seek quotes for the fencing project and the concrete work that needs to get done. And then we'll continue to work with the PAC group to make sure the timing of us completing the entrance and possibly them completing the fencing to improve that small dog park area is done in a timely manner or done together, so as to eliminate any other challenges we might have out there. And then we'll also make sure we're working with our consultants that are doing the stormwater drainage study out there to make sure that we're coordinating efforts along the same timeline so that we're not tearing up the entrance twice or tearing up fencing going into the dog park twice or the pond, things like that. So, commissioners, with that, I'll answer any questions you might have. Garrett Beck is also here. Garrett is our staff liaison and Parks and Recreation Director. He also serves as a liaison to the PAC committee. So he's been very involved with the dog park from the beginning and continues to be. So hopefully he can answer any questions you might have as well.
I think I've asked that question in the past. The water, what do you call it, the shower or the cleaning station?
Correct.
Is there a way to bring it on the other side? Because it'll be easy, otherwise you're crossing the road all the time with the,
Commissioner Roof, that is correct. You do have to walk through the parking lot or across the parking lot now to get over there. It'd be a matter of, again, boring that water line underneath the parking lot to get it to the other side. I know that at the time we put it in, we looked at the cost for doing that, and it just didn't weigh out as a need to do that at the time. Commissioner Donaldson?
Does the pond contribute to the stormwater drainage system in that area?
All of the water from, I'm gonna call it the front of the park, from up by the ball fields and from the BA 191 house that sits in the immediate entry, all of the water drains to the back of the park and essentially flows through the pond before kind of draining down the back of the hill into other small ponding areas and holding areas before it gets into Lake Alamagnon. Commissioner Brammer.
Do you have an idea of when this project will take place?
We hope to get moving on it right away. We will go out and seek the quotes for the fencing and the concrete right away, and it's my understanding that pending the fencing quotes, the PAC group may be ready to move as well. Through their funding and through their resources, they may be ready to move as well. So hopefully we'll have a project completed before the end of the fall.
Also, will the park have to be closed during this project?
That's not certain. I don't think I think we'll be able to figure out a way to find a temporary entrance. So that it's such a popular park, it'd be really difficult to keep people out of there for a period of time, even if it is for just, a week's time. But I think we'll look at all options to make sure we continue to have access to the park during the construction phase.
Thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Newman.
Was there any concern from the PAC members about the extreme temperatures in concrete versus pea gravel?
Commissioner Newman, not to my knowledge. Again, Mr. Beck has worked with the PAC folks, and I don't know if he's heard or had that concern addressed or been raised by the PAC folks.
Good evening, Commissioners. The PAC group has seen this rendering and was part of the development of what the entry would look like. They actually had pictures or toured multiple locations that have gone through similar challenges that we're facing right now, and this surface and this layout was their choice. Having concrete and asphalt, the concrete will probably be cooler than a dark asphalt entry, but that is common at locations using either one of those surfaces, so.
Awesome.
I have just one comment and a quick question. One, I love, and this isn't the only example, but the cooperation of the parks with organizations such as PAC and the Lions Club and others. I just think that's fantastic. And So I really am happy to see that that's occurring out here. My question was, and it just with the renderings, you showed the kiosk or the signage, and I'm assuming that's not part of the CIP, or is it? Because you mentioned concrete and fencing.
Correct. The sign is not part of this project. We do have a sign replacement program that is happening. So the consultant here took that rendering from that project and just kind of put it in place at this point. Are we adding a sign to the entrance of the dog park? Down the line, it's okay.
Yeah, there is, not in 2018, do we have funding, and this location is not identified as that location to put in a sign, but the rendering that you see is something as a 5-year plan that we would look to get into, similar to what you see at the skate park across the way. Those are not large park signs, but really kind of facility signs that exist within a larger park system.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the commission? Very good. Well, thank you, JJ.
Thank you, Commissioners.
With that, our next item is 6, and it's miscellaneous items. Staff, I notice there's a few. Do you want to?
Yep, thank you, Commissioner Ullery. We are in the process right now, we're still trying to finalize plans for our August 7th Parks Tour. There's, I think, 4 items listed on your document there. We've added another one, and that is just a quick stop at Lions Splash Pad. You may recall, we had that item before us just a little bit ago. That work has been completed, and so it might be nice to kind of just stop in and see how it's working. As well as there are some improvements scheduled, additional improvements scheduled for that park. So we'll be able to talk about that during that time. Caleb is going to take us on a little tour over at Terrace Oaks. We have another restoration project happening over there. And then the other items we've talked about for a couple years now, the Loch Levon concession and restroom building. So we'll stop in and see how that is shaped up after that project is now complete. We just talked about the Alamagnet Dog Park entry. We can swing through there as it's right on the way, and you can get more of a visual. I know it's easier to kind of be out in the park and stand right on the ground where we're going to be talking about it, so it might be helpful. And then similar to the Alamagnet drainage concerns that we've been dealing with, Neal Park has some similar concerns, and we'll look to address those concerns over at Neal Park and possibly tackle a few other projects along the way that may be coming before you in the future as well. So currently, those are the 5 items that we have. Commissioners, if you have any other parks or any other items you'd like to see on our tour, we can certainly make any changes or adjustments, and you don't need to have that answer for me right now. We can do that over the next week or so, but more information will be coming on that parks tour. And then I need to apologize for the cancellation of the work session tonight. We were going to discuss the 2040 comp plan. Obviously, that did not happen. We will, however, we pushed that back to the September meeting, so we'll be looking to do that in the September timeframe at a 5:30 work session. Again, it should only take about 45 minutes to an hour to review our section with the consultants, and then we'll have our regular meeting following that. And then the Parks Master Plan, we've had our consultants come in and give us a presentation on July 11th. They took your feedback and all the other feedback they've received and brought that to a city council work session where they had just a little feedback from our city council. So we think we're at a point now where we're pretty close to a final draft. I will have hard copies of that Parks Master Plan for you on August 7th. I can make electronic copies available for you sooner than that, but I'll have a hard copy. It's 120 pages, so I'll bring those to you on the 7th. But you'll have some time to review that, and when we come back to our formal meeting in September, we'll ask for a formal recommendation from this commission to City Council to accept that document. So that'll be coming your way soon as well.
Very good. Thank you. So with that, we come to our final item, and that's the motion for adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second? Do I have ayes?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? None? So moved. Thank you for joining us tonight at the Burnsville Parks and Natural Resource Commission meeting.